What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. It's been a while since I made one. Haven't really touched the Bronco that much lately. I've done a couple things to it. I'd put the rear axle back in. Obviously you see or not the rear axle, the rear drive shaft, put the new U-joints in and whatnot. You see I still got to do the front one. I really haven't been doing much to that lately. But I was over here washing the 2015 and paying no attention to all the random bullshit all around. And it kind of dawned on me that I haven't done the 4-year update on the bedliner paint job yet. So normally I do these every September. Obviously right now it's October, so I completely forgot about it. But I'm sure there's, possibly some people that might be wondering, after 4 years, how's it holding up? It's really not a whole lot different than, how it was, last year. But I guess I'll go over stuff again, and I'll answer some questions that people had in the comments of the other video. At the end of this, I'll kind of run down, I'll kind of pick it apart a little bit, show you guys some problem areas, kind of the same thing I did last year. So if you've already seen that video, there's really not much has changed. And then like I said, I'll take some questions from the previous video from last year. So to get this right out of the way here, the product that we used was the SEM rocket liner. That's SEM rocket liner. So this isn't Raptor liner. A lot of people do Raptor liner. I didn't do Raptor liner. And the color code for this is J8. It's called Tangier Orange or Tangier Orange, Tangier Orange. I know a lot of people in the previous video asked what color code this is. That's the color code. I believe it's a Ford color. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, so that's that. So one of the main issues that I've had with this bed liner is, or at least in the last year, is I've had a lot of fading. I didn't have a whole lot coming up to like the 3-year mark, but now I've had quite a bit of fading, and I've actually had quite a bit of spider cracking. You guys will remember from the previous video, I was really having a lot of spider cracking up on the roof. I'll show you guys that right now. See if we can demonstrate some of that. So you might be able to tell this is like almost white, like, because this is beating down, the sun all day long is beating down right here. My roof is basically white. So that's I don't know if you'll be able to, you can totally tell the difference right here. This right in the center here is, super orange, and the rest of it compared to right here, you can see a very drastic difference up on the roof. It's basically all white. And you can see, let's see if we can zoom here, or not zoom, but focus. Let's see, can I focus on this? Hopefully you guys are able to see. I have, oh, it doesn't really feel like focusing. Maybe if I do, there we go. All right. See all those little cracks? So those are all throughout the roof. We do not really have them, on the sides of the truck because they're not in direct sunlight all the time. But the roof has a lot of spider cracks in it. Now, really doesn't bother me all that much because obviously, you don't really see the roof of this truck unless you're up here trying to look at it. But major fading, major spider cracking. And you can see here, I actually took some of the same bed liner with a brush and I redid this kind of drip edge area right here because it was starting to flake and peel up and everything, which obviously isn't so much an issue with the bed liner. The fading and the cracking would be an issue with the bed liner, but it peeling up right here was, poor prep. I did a lot of prep work on this truck, but I suppose with bed liner as opposed to like regular paint, you need to do, you need to be very diligent with your prep work. So this was kind of a band-aid. I did it on both sides, just kind of trying to make it so that it wouldn't peel up and have, rust issues up here. So I think it actually worked out pretty well how I did that. I painted on with a brush, right? So it hasn't come off at all. It's adhered pretty well, but that is the major real issue that I've had with it. Now, I said there was also spider cracking new this year on other parts of the truck. So the sides of the truck pretty much look just as good as day one for the most part. I do get streaks and everything in it. You can probably see These streaks here are very hard to get out. It's a real pain in the ass to keep it clean. I haven't cleaned it in a couple of months actually after I put these on with plasti-dip. I'll get to that in a minute, but I haven't cleaned it in a while, so this is kind of a rough look at it. But other spider cracking, you can see, you might be able to tell that right here, all right, this area and also the hood is also having pretty drastic fading. Not so much as the roof has had, but it is also there. So I'm going to zoom in here again so we can get a good view at this. So you guys will be able to tell, maybe if I do it in a little bit better light. Let's see. So this whole area here, this is where the, whatever the hell that piece is called, but where the hood and the fender meet, right here. See that same spider cracking? Hopefully, this should be pretty good quality video, so hopefully you guys can see all of the spider cracking here. And I'm not complaining about it, by the way. This isn't me complaining about it. I'm just showing you guys, you know, what you could end up with. A whole bunch of spider cracking, mostly from here up. So, you know, right where the fender kind of curves up and it gets hit with direct sunlight more. All of that in the hood. I really don't have any spider cracking on the hood. I do a little bit right here, but it's mostly right on this real big curve right here. This more flat section does not have really any spider cracking at all on it. The hood is actually really, it's not cracking at all. The hood isn't cracking at all. It's just that part on the fender there. And this side, you can see this side does not get sunlight all day, because I usually back the truck in, so that's the side that gets hammered. I might start parking the truck in the other way, just so this side can maybe catch up to the, you know, the aging on the other side there. But over here, I do not have spider cracking, I do not have fading. So really, number one takeaway from the spider cracking and the fading, obviously, it's kind of too late for me, but for you guys that are thinking about doing a bed liner paint job, stumbling across this video, don't park it in direct sunlight for 4 years or that will happen. Just kind of a general, you know, buyer beware, I suppose. If you're going to do a bed liner paint job, you know, you can have similar things happen with regular paint. You know, your clear coat will get oxidized and it'll end up turning white and everything like that, which is kind of what's happening here, but you're not going to really get spider cracks and stuff like that with a regular paint job. So buyer beware, I suppose. Do not park it in direct sunlight, even though I'm doing that right now. So fading, spider cracking, have had issues with those. Another major thing with bed liner paint jobs is you will get water underneath the bed liner. When I first did this, I didn't think that was going to be a possibility, but I think I've kind of figured out why that happens. So right here, you can see there's a little bit of rust right here, okay? Now, this is actually just rusty water that came out of a hole that's right here. I had a pocket build up here, you know, big bubble, looked like a, you know, kind of a zit, right? Not like big, like, you know, but it was big enough that you could notice it. So I poked it with a pin, drained it out. The backside, it's all still solid. It's not rusting through or anything, you know, but I have had this area and the exact same area on the other side have water get into them. And I think that the reason for that is possibly didn't put enough coats. So maybe like if I put on one more coat, it might have sealed the gaps a little bit more. I think I did 4 coats on this, but it would have sealed all the little bumps and ridges, because when you spray it on, it's kind of like when you do plasti-dip. You do a light coat, you do another light coat, you do another light coat, and then you hammer it on. If you don't get, you know, full coverage and you have, you know, little microscopic holes, you know, like down at like a level that you cannot see with the naked eye, water will get in there and it will kind of, you know, collect in there. So that's one thing that you kind of have to think about. Make sure you put on enough coats so that does not happen. I haven't had it happen on really anywhere else on the truck. I think on this side I do have a small bubble somewhere around here. I also have a crack right here, which I showed you guys in the last video. This crack hasn't gotten any worse, but it is there. Oh, here's the bubble. It's right here. There is a bubble starting here. It's not even big enough that I can poke it and drain it yet. But it is, you guys can see it. It's right here, this line right here. So that is that. So those are the issues I've had. Fading, water getting behind it. Keep in mind, this is 4 years down the road. Indirect sunlight, always out in the elements, I drive this truck in the winter as well. And I'm in New Hampshire, all right? So we've got salt on the roads. We've got, you know, just rust galore for trucks, which is why I'm really happy that the, you know, my 2015 here is aluminum and not steel, because it doesn't rust. So that's really a really good plus to, you know, Ford using aluminum on these trucks. I know they got a lot of shit when they first came out, you know, aluminum, whatever. People didn't like it, but I actually really like it a lot because you don't get rust problems. But those are the main issues I've had. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to answer some questions right after I show you this. Actually, this comes down to prep work. All right, I showed you guys this in the last year as well. This here, see this? It's kind of chipping off on the bottom here. Make sure you do good prep work. Thankfully, this isn't rusting right now, but you definitely want to make sure you get full coverage and everything all on the undersides of your truck. So one of the questions on the previous video, which some of you guys might have the same question as well, is concerning this crack over here. All right, this crack that I have right here. Now they asked, was there Bondo here? Is it cracking because there's Bondo there, or is it cracking for some other reason? There could be Bondo there. I don't exactly remember. I do not think there is. Most of the rust on this wheel was up here, right on this wheel, this wheel well here. So if you guys go back and watch like the old videos when we were fixing the rust and everything, there could be Bondo there. I honestly don't think that there is. I think that it was mostly just this area here as well. And also, I mean, I don't know how to really say this properly, but my dad's been doing body work for like 30 years, and he did the, you know, the patchwork and everything for the most part on this truck. So if it failed because of Bondo, I'd be extremely surprised. I mean, yeah, he knows what he's doing. So if it failed because of Bondo, which I honestly don't think it did. I think it's just really shitty. I don't know. It just didn't adhere very well right here. It could be because of all the salt. It could be because it's lifting. Stuff like that. But yeah. So one other kind of like question / comment that was on the other video was about adhesion promoters and stuff like that. So apparently, well, they commented that Raptor Liner does make an adhesion promoter for their bed liners. That could be something that if you're going to do one of these, you might want to use that on your wheel wells, underneath, stuff like that. Any of your edges, kind of like, you know, I'm no expert on like vinyl wraps and stuff, but I've seen videos, you know, people doing vinyl wraps. They use adhesion promoter on the areas where it could lift up. So that could be something that you might want to use if you're doing a bed liner paint job. Apparently Raptor Liner sells an adhesion promoter. Another thing that I've found out, which I wish I knew about this when I did the truck. So this truck has no clear coat on it. All right. I wasn't exactly sure if putting a clear coat over bed liner was going to be, you know, the right way to go. I didn't really want to put it on there and have it screw it up. So I didn't put any clear coat on this. But apparently what I found out, you know, somewhat recently is that Raptor Liner actually makes a clear coat in an aerosol can. So if you put on your bed liner and then you used that clear coat that's specifically made for bed liner from Raptor Liner, you can probably use it on any kind of bed liner. But you put that on, that would probably alleviate a lot of the fading and the spider cracking and everything like that. So that's just something to keep in mind. I had no idea that they even made clear coats for bed liner. Apparently they do. Kind of wish I'd done that, but it does have quite a bit of shine to it without having you know, a clear coat on there. Obviously if you spray a car, just, you know, you paint it, you know, every car has a clear coat on it, which makes it, you know, shiny and glossy and everything like that. But could be something to look into when doing bed liner as well. So this is, you know, just a couple little things here. You can see I have the The 01 on the door, which I spoke about earlier, that's plasti-dip. I'll get into that in a second. These are vinyl decals that I put on. Like probably 3 days or 4 days maybe, or it could even been the next day. It was really close to when we painted the truck. I put these decals on. So these have been on here for 4 years as well. And they've held up pretty well. You can see, you know, they have some dirt, grime behind them. They're kind of starting to fall apart a little bit now. You can see they're kind of chipping off, tearing, whatever else. But those have been on there for 4 years. I did a video on how to put those on if you guys wanted to, you know, put your decals back on your truck after you paint it. Basically, I just used a heat gun, heated it up, pressed it down. So that kind of segues into the 01s on the door. So I had tried in one previous video, and then I had tried it 2 times actually, to put the 01s on with a similar kind of decal. And now it worked. You put the heat gun on it, heat it up real good, get it on there. The first time it lasted like a day because I didn't use a heat gun, and the second time it lasted about a month, and then they were falling off again. This truck also does have a ceramic coating on it. It's kind of one of those spray-on ceramic coatings, just to kind of help it stay clean. And maybe, you know, it says it has some UV inhibitors in it, which would, you know, had supposedly stopped with the fading and everything like that. It didn't really work that well, but that's kind of why the decals didn't stick. I think it's partly because they were a thicker vinyl. All right, this is a very thin, you know, transparent background vinyl. It's extremely thin. The 01 decals that I was trying before were like, you know, thicker vinyl, not super thick, but you can tell the difference when you were holding them. Those were like a real thick kind of heavy duty vinyl, and those are like a cheap Amazon vinyl. And the cheap Amazon vinyl held up a lot better than the regular vinyl, because that you could heat it up and press it in. And it was extremely, you know, like not to say fragile, but it was really maneuverable and malleable because of how thin the vinyl was. So I couldn't really get the thicker vinyl to adhere to kind of a rigid surface like this. But the plasti-dip has probably been on here for, I don't know, about a month now. And you can see I got one little spot right here. It looks like it's lifting a little bit, but the rest of it is all, you know, staying on pretty good. You can see I have a little bit of overspray issue. It was such a pain in the ass to actually paint these on, because with plasti-dip, you know, I think I did 4 coats, and each time that I put a coat on, I would remove my tape. All right, so I had like multiple layers of tape built up. I'd spray a coat, remove the tape, spray another coat, remove the tape again, and then just like hammer it on real hard and then remove the tape right after. So I do have some, you know, kind of overspray in some of the corners like that. But it was a real pain in the ass trying to get these on. I'm surprised that they've held up this well. I honestly didn't know if they were going to make it through that first weekend when I put them on. But they've held up pretty well. So if you guys wanted to do something like, you know, put any big decals or anything on a bed liner, and it's something simple like this that you can make an outline and trace it and paint it, I'd probably use plasti-dip instead of trying to use a, you know, like a big vinyl decal. Plasti-dip will probably work better for you. But these have been on here for, you know, like I said, about a month. They've been pretty good. I have not washed the truck since I put them on because I'm kind of scared about it. There's one area on here though, there it is right there. You can see that it is lifting up a tiny bit right there, but it hasn't really changed in the last few weeks. So I'd say they're still holding up pretty well. Obviously they're not going to stay on forever. If you want them to stay on forever, you just use, you know, regular paint, or you could use spray paint or like some of that Rust-Oleum paint, or you could try to bed line it on top of bed liner. That could possibly work as well. But this was just kind of a cheap and easy solution to get these on here, because I don't know, I thought about doing that for a long time, like multiple years. I painted the truck orange. Everybody was like, oh, you gotta put the 01 on it, but don't put the flag on the roof. I didn't put the flag on the roof, but I don't know. I just wanted to do it for quite a while, so I don't know. It looks all right. It's kind of funky. Some of the edges are a little weird, you know, just because it was such a, you know, in order to get the plasti-dip to make a clean edge, you have to do what I was saying before. We got to spray it and then remove a layer, because if you put on all of your layers and then you peel it, the whole thing just comes with it. So that's why you have to do like the layers and stuff. But anyway, enough rambling about that. All right, so that's pretty much going to do it for this, you know, little update. I do have another update last year that I went more in depth into everything. If you wanted to watch that as well, or the first year update or whatever else, I got, you know, this will be the 4th installment of the yearly update. So you can watch those if you want, or if you want to go back and watch us actually spraying it, those videos are on the channel as well. But yeah, after 4 years, I can tell you, I'm not, you know, I don't hate it. I'm not really disappointed with it. I think that it's just starting to get a little bit old, and eventually at some point it'll get old to the point where it's going to start falling off by itself. Maybe another 4 years, I don't know exactly, we'll have to see. But at a certain point, you know, it's probably going to end up coming off, and then we'll have to figure out how to get it off once it starts looking, you know, bad enough. I still think it looks pretty good after 4 years, but yeah, so that's that. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you made it this far through the video. If you have any questions, comment them in the comment box there, and I'll see you guys, well, I don't know when I'll see you. See you in another 3 months maybe. All right, see ya.